this is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about immaturity when it deals not only with a narcissistic type person or a person with cluster B personalities, or whatever it is. I'm not diagnosing anybody, but just their behaviors are very immature, and they've got an abusive side to it. Now that's on one hand, but one of the things I want to talk about mainly is the other side. The people who grew up in, like, say, narcissistic families or extremely dysfunctional families, where they were never treated at their age. They was always treated younger, like by a mother or a father or both, aunt, uncle, whomever, an elder. And they were treated like they were children, or maybe later on in life, after they got out of their house, they were treated this way by maybe a spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. Like you have to ask permission to do things from your spouse. This kind of thing. Basically, you're treated like a child, and when you're much older. Okay, and being treated as that child, when you're much older, you could be in your 50s, and your spouse is treating you like a child. Or even somebody younger is treating you like a child. That happens too. It's called, what I've always heard it called is infantilization. They infantilize you. They treat you like a child, like an infant. See, that's where the word comes from, I think. I'm not going to go and research it. I'm in my car, my SUV. I'm not going to sit there and take time to research. But I have researched some of it, and it's, that's what it's called. So anyway, when that happens, think about it. I mean, seriously, I'm in my 50s, and every once in a while, I catch myself acting very immature for my age in certain areas, just certain ones, which would have been the same kind of thing when I was younger, when I was a child growing up, okay? So, now, I think the difference, now we know, let me skip to this part. We know that many people see that same kind of thing in narcissistic people. Well, what I would have would be they call them narcissistic fleas, the bad behaviors you pick up from narcissists. But I don't agree with that. I wouldn't call it that in this instant, but maybe it could be. If you're raised by someone who acts very immature for their age, could you really know how to behave when you're that age? But I think it's more of the result of being treated younger. Your whole looking glass self is all screwed up. You don't know what other people think of you. You don't know. And these days, a lot of people act this way, the 40s into the new 30s and that kind of mentality. But you don't know. People don't really tell you. It's becoming a very self-centered kind of world. So you don't get that much feedback from other people that can tell you, okay, you need to mature, you need to grow up some. I think it's more of a result of something like that and being treated younger, and you see what I'm saying. One of the things I do think is the people who are not narcissistic, who are not self-centered, who are not abusive with it and all this kind of stuff, I think the other people, they, like me, can recognize it when they can, when they see it, recognize it for what it is, and change the behavior. Admit that you're wrong. The behavior is wrong. Now, I think more of the narcissistic, abusive, whatever it is side, they won't admit to being wrong. Okay, none of this is across the board, of course. It's not everybody. One size doesn't fit all. But yeah, I think that's one of the things is they're not going to admit to that it's wrong. Maybe they'll say something to you like, you're just too mature for your age. I have been told that. I'm serious since I was a kid. Now, the thing about it is, I have always looked younger than my age since, say, 18. I've always looked younger until I turned 50. I'm 55 now. But when I turned 50, well, back when I was 48, I was in a class, and a woman in the class, she was 56. I was 48. She was 56. And I had made a statement about back when I was 24, to the class. And she jumped up, looked at me, and she said, "What do you mean when you were 24? That had to be, just a few years ago. You can't be more than, 32 maybe?" I said, "I'm 48. It ticks me off. Seriously, the way she said it. And she was always rude to me in the class anyway. And everybody said, what? No way. And the instructor, she said, yeah, I checked. She's 48. She said, I couldn't believe it either. I'm like, what, am I not sitting here? I didn't get that defensive, but yeah, you know, it's like, no, I am 48. Because I've heard that kind of thing all my life. So if they're looking at me and saying you're too mature for your age, it's because they're getting confused of what I look like versus my actual age. Yeah, and how a person my actual age would behave. And a lot of people my actual age don't act my actual age. So yeah, and me, I got this giggle thing going on. That's the thing I'm going to try to change. Wish me luck. And one of the things is, I'm a sociologist, my master's degree in sociology, so I pay a lot of attention to what goes on in society, you know, what is more of a societal thing, and you know, reason for it, or possible reason for it, you know, make theories and stuff. And one of them that does concern me about this is what you see in businesses these days. It was not like that when I was a younger, a kid, on in 20s, maybe 30s even, is that the businesses were often run by, the bosses were people like in their 50s and 60s, okay? But I would say, I'd say back in the, maybe the early 2000s, that started to change. And instead, it was the opposite kind of way. Well, not even that. It was that they were run by people who were in their 30s and sometimes 20s. And it's kind of remained that way. And I don't think that's a good thing, because who's teaching the younger people? Younger people? Yeah, I don't see that as a good thing, really. So, and I have seen that, older people like, sometime in your 40s, which is, here in the United States, you shouldn't be able to, but they do. Anyway, age discriminate when hiring. But some point in the 40s, usually the late 40s, that's when you really start to notice it. At least I did. Like I said, I'm 55. Yeah. Like I said, I have white noise, I guess you could call it. My AC on in my SUV running, because they play music here at this Sonic very loud. I park on the outside of it, but it's still way too loud. And you can't have music, copyright issues and stuff. So just pardon the noise and everything. But yeah, I wanted to start talking about this topic. I've done this kind of topic on my other channels, and I'm trying to get everything onto this one channel, if I can get the channel to take off. It's not going to take off, I know that. I mean, get more than like 1 or 2 views. But I want to get everything on one channel and just stay like that instead of splitting myself all around, But anyway, I mean, have you experienced it? Have you noticed it? We've probably all heard, like I was saying earlier, this stuff about the 50s or the new 40s. One of Adam's brothers, he said, one time he said 50 is the new 35. But I think there's a big thing about this. It's pretty much true. In some instances, it's like one of my sisters, she is just a 1.5 years older than I, 15 months actually. And she, when she was dating, she said she was in her 40s, late 40s I think, and she met a man from online, and she said he was 50 years old, but she said he was the old 50. And I knew exactly what she was talking about. But yeah, some people are, it's more like, and I understand what she was saying is a little bit different than what I'm going to say. But yeah, there are some people who do act their age. They don't have all those narcissistic fleas, like people call them. And they really are mature, And I think some of us who do have this kind of, I wouldn't call it all narcissistic fleas, like I explained earlier, but, have this to deal with, still to contend with. It, like I said, we can notice it, we can change it. And some people won't, and like I mentioned earlier. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. If you want to subscribe to this channel, click the circle. If you want to watch another video on this channel, you can click one of the rectangles. Like, subscribe, comment, and share on your own social media if you would, and I'll talk to y'all in another video. Bye.